And Mark Trible of the Courier-Post, keep the wrestling conversation going. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Sully.
What's up, man? You got your Wawa breakfast sandwich and coffee in hand, or what?
I got my coffee in hand. No breakfast sandwich for me.
Nah?
I'm not a breakfast guy. Not a huge breakfast guy. No.
Where are you off to today?
I'm going to be at Holy Cross Academy for District 25, which should be interesting. It'll be got a good group of teams there. Probably have some champions spread out over a couple teams, and which would be nice. Get a little diversity in terms of some winners there.
Mark, what do you think of the whole realignment? We were just talking to John O'Kane, sort of a wrestling guru in the area, worked for the Press of Atlantic City for a number of years. He's out covering District 32 for them today, and he's not a big fan of it. What's your take on the whole realignment issue?
Well, first I'll say I miss seeing Okie around. I hope to see him at least in Atlantic City. One of the good guys. I don't care for it. I don't care for it at all, really. I think that what they've done is they've certainly created something different, but in terms of adjustments, I think maybe a couple small adjustments would have worked, and instead they just blew the whole thing up, which is certainly not the first time that's happened. But, that's neither here nor there. But speaking of neither here nor there, how would you like to be Del Rand to drive, all the way out the wall for a district tournament? Obviously, parents, strain on them. To kind of got to go all the way out there, and if your kid's really, maybe not that great or decent, maybe he's a 5 or 6 seed in the district, then maybe you don't want to go. Nothing against, or maybe if you're a casual fan, it's really not, you're really not getting the most bang for your buck driving all the way across the state. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at a team like Woodstown's got to go from Woodstown all the way to Southern Regional. That's about an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, it's certainly not a stone's throw away. I don't know how much sense it makes. I understand what they were getting at, but then the other problem is that you kind of have some top-heavy districts, and whereas before, I guess you had some districts that maybe just weren't as good, but the ones that you had that were good seemed to be consistently good.
Right.
And now when you look at what's left, in typing up the seedings the other day when they came out, you go through the first one. Okay, so we went 25 to 32. Excuse me. Get through 25, you say, this one's not great. This isn't a great district. Then you get to the next one, you say, man, this one really isn't great. You get to the next one, you're like, man, this one might be the worst. And each time it's like, wow, really none of them are very, very good. I mean, there's a couple weight classes that are going to have a handful of contenders, maybe in all of South Jersey. The rest of it is just going to be 1, 2, 3 for the most part.
Right.
And I think it lacks parity. I think it takes away from the atmosphere. We'll see how it goes today. Maybe I'll be completely wrong, but you know me, Sully. That's not usually my style.
Yeah, it kind of the real losers in this are the casual wrestling fans. Maybe somebody who doesn't have a kid in school anymore, but still enjoys the sport. I mean, you used to be able to go to Absegami and see pretty much the entire Cape Atlantic League wrestle each other. So, and I'm sure it's the same way in some of those other districts where you'd go maybe a couple towns over and you get to see all the wrestlers you've been hearing about all winter. And now it's, who's going to take a ride from Atlantic County up to Southern or out to Clearview, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just it's something that will take some getting used to for everyone. And if they decide to stick with it in a couple of years, but the initial thought from most people that I've run into is, I don't like it. People who are eager to voice their displeasure with it, and I don't disagree with those folks. I think last year was my first year covering wrestling in South Jersey. I was at district, I believe it was 29. It was at Paulsboro. At Paulsboro, Clearview, Gateway. There was so much going on. And it was a wonderful atmosphere, one of the finest I saw last year, and I'm sad that no longer exists.
So let's get down to the actual wrestling. Who do you have your eye on today? Maybe somebody that could surprise or some of these top seeds that are looking to tune up for regions next week?
Well, my favorite part of this time of the year is the kid that loses and kind of claws his way back to still advance. That's always my favorite. So I don't really know specifically who's going to open my eye today, but I do know that I'm interested to see the 113-pound clash between Seneca's Joe Manchio, defending state champ at 106, Colin Wickramaratha from Cherokee, who's had a great season. These two have wrestled in the past. They're very familiar with each other. And you know, anytime you can see a former state champ, you know, you got to be stoked for that. Obviously, Manchio's only lost once this year to Antonio Menino of Gateway, one of your personal favorites, I know.
Yeah, them little Menino guys, they're tough.
They are tough, and I think Antonio might have the second highest criteria points in the state, actually.
Wow!
And they've had quite a run. They're only juniors; they'll be back next year. But yeah, I'm interested to see that 113. And there's some weight classes that are just up for grabs. There's some top-notch kids, a couple weights. I can think of Lucas Ravano, a lightweight for Camden Catholic, certainly a star. And I kind of want to see where some of these kids who maybe you check their records through the year, you see they have a couple nice wins, and you get to finally see them in person. It can be difficult in the dual meet season to do that with the forfeits and stuff like that. If you see a team one night, kid might get forfeited too.
Yep.
So it's tough, but yeah, I'm just excited to see it all play out. I learned last year there's always something that happens. If you go in, you have no idea it exists. There's some kid who you don't look at when you break down the brackets who ends up really making an impact on you.
Talking high school wrestling with Mark Trible of the Courier-Post. Mark, a couple guys I'm interested to see how they make out is the Kinner brothers from Kingsway. I believe one of them got hurt last year in regions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. Trace Kinner, the older one, had an injury default, and I believe it was the region championship against Delcy Edison at Chaveria.
Right.
He sustained an injury to the head, and he ended up missing states because he had a concussion or concussion-like symptoms, which is really disappointing for him. His brother Quinn is outstanding. I expect his brother Quinn, with the kid from, I believe it's Brick Memorial, to be in the state final, unless there's some unforeseen craziness that happens. He's one of the best in South Jersey. Trace is excellent as well. And Trace will actually, today, it's funny you mentioned Trace, he will be involved in likely the best championship bout in South Jersey for districts. You're looking at 138 down there at, whatever district it is. I don't even remember anymore. But he's going against Woodstown's Travis Layton, who is undefeated. And they've been good friends for a number of years. Travis is especially close with Quinn. Last year, Layton lost, I think, 6 times. 5 of them were to Quinn.
Wow. The
other one to another state finalist. So, they're not in the same weight class this year, so he gets the brother instead. And for anybody wondering, that's District 29. That's the one in Southern.
Gotcha.
So there's always some type of storyline. So
yeah.
You know that.
So who's the best brother combination in South Jersey? Have you thought about that?
That is tight. That is tight. I think last year the Fogias of Northern Burlington were certainly great, and obviously the Kinners were good as well. Between the Kinners and the Meninos, that's one of those I don't think you're going to get an answer until the states are done, because
yep.
All 4 of them, all 4 of those kids, I would expect them all to have a very, very good shot at placing, and I think a couple of them could win. So you never know. That's a great question, and you love that. You love seeing that brother combination, right? I mean, it's everywhere in wrestling. It seems like more so than other sports, and what makes it so special is these kids, for the most part, have used their brothers as sparring partners throughout. I mean, that's the guy who basically they can point to and say, I wouldn't be where I am without that guy wrestling around.
Good stuff, Mark, as always. Enjoy the districts, and we'll catch up with you next week as we get prepared for regions.
Absolutely, Sully. It's always a pleasure, man. You have a great weekend.
All right, man. You too.
All righty.
That was Mark Trible of the Courier-Post helping us break down some high school wrestling